That lab that he mentioned, Othram, that used familial DNA to identify Douglas Keith Crone, also unraveled two of the longest standing mysteries in Snohomish County, putting names to a pair of John Does, bodies that were found in 1980.
He just disappeared. No one heard from him. Devastating, heartbreaking, overwhelming trauma.
24-year-old Stephen Lee Knox moved to Everett after getting out of the Air Force in the spring of 1980. His family realized something was wrong after he didn't call or write for 4 months, something his sister says was completely out of character. In June of that year, a man's body was found in the Snohomish River. The medical examiner's office determined that he drowned and had been submerged for about 2 months. But since the body was severely decomposed, that's all they could tell. For decades, the body was known as Jenny Doe, until a sample was sent to Othram Lab in the Woodlands, Texas. Scientists created a DNA profile and entered it into a genealogy website. The Snohomish County Medical Examiner's Office then built a family tree, leading them to the Knox family.
It's been 40 some years, at least. We have the confirmation it's him.
Stephen's sister says knowing that his remains have been identified means a lot, but there are still more questions to be answered.
We just know that there's more pieces that someone else might know. It would be so very helpful to my brothers and I if they could provide any more pieces, because so many are missing.
She says Stephen called her brother with a mysterious message shortly before he went missing.
There were bad people after him, and if they catch him, they're going to kill him. But that was my first question to the ME. Was he murdered? And they couldn't tell me. All they could say is that he drowned.
Janet hopes to learn the full story, but for now, she's thankful she could bring Stephen home.
He'll have a space that has his name on it. He's no longer a John Doe. We're taking him. He's ours.
Othram also cracked another Snohomish County Doe case, this one tracing back to a gruesome discovery by property owners in Stanwood.
They went down to a spring to get some water, and they found a skull, a cranium with a hole in the back of its head.
The body had been there for weeks and was picked clean.
There were bones scattered everywhere. A neighbor's dog had been bringing some of them home.
Detectives got right to work on the case, making a clay model of the skull and creating a dental mold. They weren't able to generate many leads, though, or identify who the person was. In 2011, Detective Jim Scharf with the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office applied for a warrant to have the body exhumed so that a DNA sample could be retrieved.
4 different labs in the country have made 9 total attempts to get DNA from these bones. And Othram Lab finally got a DNA profile. And we used genetic genealogy to give us a good tip that it's probably remains of the son of a man named Samuel Chambers. Well, it just so happens that Samuel Chambers has a son named Ronald Chambers who was listed as a missing person in King County from 1979.
Detectives matched military dental records to Chambers and made a positive ID, then went back to the 1979 missing persons case file and discovered a crazy story. Chambers was staying in a motel with his wife and infant son. He left with a buddy named Robert Hellberg on December 17, 1978. They said they were heading for Everett. Chambers never returned, but Hellberg did and told the wife a hitman killed Chambers. She got around to filing a police report after the new year.
We believe that Robert Hellberg is the person responsible. He's also a person of interest in another jurisdiction for a couple of other homicides.
Hellberg died in federal prison in 1993. While he would never stand trial, at least Chambers' loved ones know what happened. Before scientists developed techniques to use DNA to map a person's genealogical profile, unidentified human remains almost always stayed that way. Until now, only 1% of unidentified murder victims were identified using the FBI's CODIS database. Since most weren't criminals, there was no DNA sample in the database to compare to.